morning. Good morning, everyone. I would like to call our regular Broadview Westchester Joint Water Agency meeting to order at 10:03. We're located in the village of Broadview in the municipal chambers, 2350 South 25th Avenue. Celeste, can we get a roll call, please?
Yes. Mayor Thompson.
Here.
Mayor Rebo.
Here.
Mr. Scalise.
Here.
Mr. Marzano.
Here.
Ms. Jones.
Here.
Mr. Comstock. Here.
Thank you. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. Thank you. Do we have any public comments? Any public comments, Wesley, from email or anything? Wesley, any public comments from email or anything? No. Okay, thank you. Next on the agenda is the approval of the minutes for February 22nd, 2024 regular board meeting. I need a motion and a second.
So moved. Second.
Any questions or comments regarding the minutes from anyone? No? Okay. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Next on the agenda is the monthly financial report for March 2024.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen.
Good morning.
Morning.
For the month ended February 29th, operating cash is 1.9 million, reserve cash is 5.3, for a total of just under $7.3 million in cash. A majority of it is at Illinois funds, earning still about 5%. Net income for the period at this time is $2.3 million. The reason that's so high is, one, our interest earnings are so high, about 150,000 over budget. And then, of course, we increased our transmission main replacement fee reserve and our debt service reserve. So those two are another $1.3 million in earnings, in revenue that is really just going right to our bottom line. So operating-wise, we're doing extremely well, and that reflects in our budget discussions later.
Thank you, Kelly. I don't have any questions or comments. Manager Barry?
One quick question, and maybe I got the wrong one, but on the Broadview Westchester Joint Water Agency, the
That's for
profit.
the budget. That's last year's and the prior
Right, for
years.
the profit and loss one?
But this is 2023 and that's 2024.
Right, I just want to make sure.
Yeah, that's for something for the budget analysis.
That's what I just wanted to make
Yep.
sure.
Yep. The financials should have been emailed to you. Yeah.
Making sure I went.
No, sorry, didn't mean to be.
Thank you.
Jumpy.
Thank you, Trustee Marzano.
Anything further?
Do you have
no,
any
nothing
questions?
further.
Okay.
Thank you.
Mayor Rebo?
No, nothing further.
Ms. Jones? Mr. Scalise?
No, ma'am.
Thank you, Kelly. Next on the agenda is new business, the discussion of the draft fiscal 24-25 annual budget and appropriation.
Do you want me to start, Mike? Yeah. Okay. So what I handed out to you today, I received an email from Mayor Thompson in regards to the budget, asking to make sure that you have information so that you can do comparative. So what you got handed out today were two documents. One is fiscal 23 and fiscal 22, and then one is our draft budget, how we do it, okay? In the draft budget, we have the first column. Since some of you guys are new, we'll go through it a little bit. So we keep track of our costs based on our location. This is how you get financial statements every month. And we budget that way. In the first column is our fiscal year to date, which is February 29th. That's the most current one that we have done. So those are the numbers we put in there. And then we budget out, the next 5 columns are the budget out by class or by location, our cost, okay? So a couple things that Wesley and I talked about and we want to express to you. First and foremost, we did not budget any increase in the rates for the districts. Why? Right now, we think that doing so wouldn't be prudent, as we are earning so much money on our interests, on our investments, and we have so much in reserves right now. To increase you guys some more after last year's increase would just be accumulating more wealth. And so we believe that the agency can handle and absorb the 14 cents per thousand that the city of Chicago is pushing through this year. When looking at the increase in usage compared to last year, I agree with that at this point in time. We did reduce the budget on interest income. Do I think we're still gonna earn more than 100,000? Most likely, but we don't know when the feds have already announced that they're gonna drop the rates. So we don't know when that's gonna hit. So we wanted to be conservative because it could hit as early as May. And so we don't wanna go in and project we're gonna get the same revenue if we're not, okay? So we did go conservatively when it came to interest income. You know, we realize any excess over that budget just goes into our bottom line.
Yeah, I had a question. The interest income, is that being generated by money market or one-year notes or five-year
So-
notes or?
So a majority of our money is in Illinois funds.
Okay.
Illinois funds is a short-term investment pool that's managed by the Illinois treasurers. The investments within it are a 1 to 5 year note average. So
Thank
it's,
you.
it's a money market type of
Right.
count.
Thank you.
So
Hold on, trustee.
Sorry.
So, just so we can maintain the core of the order of the meeting, when we ask for comments from the board, let's just address, instead of jumping right in.
okay.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. As far as expenditures are concerned, we've taken into consideration the increase in the city of Chicago water rate. We've also taken into consideration our current IMRF rate, our current staffing levels, some of the purchases that are going to be made this year. There's a request to buy a new van to replace the 2012 van that we currently have. There is going to be a need to replace all cell phones for employees and all iPads for employees. That's about $6,000 that's reflected in equipment purchase. The workers' comp insurance is up because of the fact that we will have a full year of the water operator. So since workers' comp is a subject of salaries, that's why that's gone up. There is a building project on Kyler for $100,000. There are several items on here that we put on just for emergency, that we rarely ever use. One is the valve service. So there's $150,000 on valve service. $75,000 is earmarked towards the Brookfield North Riverside valve, and $75,000 is allocated towards the 10th Avenue valve. You notice a drop in the Brookfield North Riverside costs this year because of the fact that they are now fully funded. So we just now have to pay the $1,500 maintenance reserve amount plus any administrative costs for Brookfield North Riverside. So that's why it's only 25 grand. Other than that, we've given you comparatives, and we hope that this budget is a fair representation. I want to point out the very last page, it shows a $1.6 million deficit. That's because, in actuality, operating-wise, it's actually a $1.3 million surplus, which is primarily the money that's put in for the transmission replacement main and the debt service fee, okay? We budget $3 million for a debt issue and $6 million for the water tower project. So we should look to have a $3 million deficit, but realistically right now we have a 1.6 because we upped and created those reserves for the secondary main from Chicago and the debt service payment.
Excuse me. Kelly, were these emailed?
No,
Because I did not get a copy. It's hard to take notes without.
I will give you mine if you want.
Thank you.
Mr. Manager?
When Kelly's back here, but, when you're back, just a few quick questions and maybe some clarifications on, you talked about workers' comp, but for general liability, did we put that extra increase for cyber? I know that we just increased it
I increased it from, I put about a 12% increase, so
Okay.
there was a $6,000 increase.
Just making sure, because we just went through the whole cyber renewal. The other part is sale of assets. Does that come into other income?
So the only reason we had a sale of assets is because we owned a piece of land on Roosevelt Road that we sold.
Okay.
Okay, we don't have another piece of land right now at this time that we're intending to sell. And so the only reason you'll see that line in 2022 or 2023 is because we sold that piece of land for a loss.
Okay.
And that's why it shows up there.
And then, obviously, when we get closer to approving everything, could you just do like a fund balance analysis, just like what you talked about with the 1.6 and
Sure.
how that is actually done? So anybody looking at our stuff can actually see that we're not in a deficit overall.
My pleasure.
Thank you, Manager, because that was gonna be my question, so thank you. Trustee Mazzano?
I'm good, thank you.
Mayor Regal?
I have nothing at this particular time. I may, after you get that report, I'd like to try to figure out where I know that later in the presentation, there'll be some discussion on the future project. I know dates and times are still
Questionable.
questionable, but they'll be discussed later, so maybe there'll be further questions after the budget's
Not a
done.
problem.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. Ms. Jones?
Just that we'll go line by line again, like we did last year, because I see some increases based on like, recording secretary expenses, the accounting expenses, and legal. So I just wanna make sure that we're in line.
Okay.
When we talk about increases as percentages.
Do you wish to have a separate meeting with the two administrators having a meeting with Wesley and I, like we did last year? Or do you wish to go through it, like, have me write a memo defining why the increases are for each line? I'm trying to figure out how you want this to happen.
Well, last year, the mayors had, entrusted in us in order to meet with you all to go line by line. So
So,
if the
Okay.
mayors agree with that this year,
I'd be fine
just so
with
we can give them a clear,
I
clean
trust them.
budget.
and that's fine. I will work with Wesley to come up with a couple of dates that we can meet between now and the next meeting.
Thank you. Then I think that would be good to do that, because at that time, you all can discuss the fund balances as well, and give us a report on that. So thank you.
My question might mostly be for Wesley. You can take a shot at answering it. You're using valve service as a generalized term. What is a valve service?
So that would be if we have to exercise the valve,
If-
if we have to replace a valve, if something goes wrong on a valve and we have to fix it. So it's basically anything, we separate out the cost of repair and work on valves from mains. So that's what it's meant to be for.
Correct. And we don't exercise the valve without an extra cost?
That would be him.
And can we start doing that?
We have that contracted out.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, very good.
Okay, not a problem.
Thank you, Kelly.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So the next public hearing date will be scheduled for April 25th. I'm gonna have a conflict that day, so either can we move the meeting up earlier to 9 for the public hearing and go right into the agency board meeting?
I'd be fine with it.
Okay, so
You just want to move the entire meeting to 9 and dispose of everything before 10 to get to your other meeting? Is that
Yes.
what I'm hearing?
yes, because we'll go right for the public hearing and then right into our regular board meeting.
Just move everything to
You just move everything to 9.
Tonight,
I'll
yep.
make the adjustments, and then we'll get it, the newspaper notice published with the new 9 o'clock date.
Okay, and then, next, item B under the draft is the board approval of fiscal year 2024-2025 annual budget and appropriation, so that'll take place on April 25th.
Correct.
Okay, thank you. Next is the discussion regarding payment of stipend for board of directors and/or executive committee members. So I had brought this up to, Mr. Jerusik as it relates to a stipend for the board to be compensated, not just for their time, but we have to make critical decisions. And we all represent two different municipalities. And it's taxing on the municipalities as it relates to what all we have to do, what we require to do as it relates to looking at engineering plans, working with HR, with the superintendent. So it's taxing on our managers and our administrators to have to, help with some of the heavy lifting. And I just think it's appropriate that we have this consideration and have this dialogue, not looking for approval today, but just a consideration to look at what that would look like for the agency. And so that means that Kelly and the superintendent would have to look at this and what that look like for the fiscal moving forward. Because we can't put this in place in this fiscal budget, but moving forward, what that would look like for the agency and what those dollar amounts would look like for the board of directors. But it literally has to be something segregated for, we inherit this. I didn't create this. But it does require a skill set and a skill level to run an agency at a board level, and it's a nonprofit. And this is not a nonprofit. This is a governmental agency that functions like a municipality.
I agree. Do you wish for me to do a comparison of other water agencies?
Can you please?
Yeah.
I appreciate that, Kelly.
Thank you.
Mr. Attorney?
Yeah, just in terms of timing and schedule, I did a memo back in 2020 on this matter. All the comments and case law and statutes are all still the same. As you know, any elected or appointed official can't change their compensation during
Right.
the current term. So you'd be doing this prospectively. And because I believe both mayor's terms are up April, May-ish of 2025, whenever your turnover date is, you have to back up 6 months. That's sort of the no-fly zone. If you're going to approve this, you have to approve it today, going forward by early October of this year, in order to legitimately change, the compensation for and enact a stipend effective probably, I don't know when you guys turn over. Some boards turn over in April, May, as late as June. I would say if you want to implement this, we get the numbers in place in the next 3 to 4 months, so we're not up against that 6-month no-fly zone where you can't take action. We adopt something, and it would be prospective to say July 1 of 2025. So it will become effective when either you or your replacements are sitting in these seats.
No, and I understand that to be the case, and I'm sure Mayor Rebo
Absolutely.
does as well. Are there any questions or comments from the board?
Just,
All right,
I
go ahead,
just
Mayor.
wanted, you've given general time frame, and I don't see it in here, but is it 180 days?
It's 180, it's
Right.
roughly 6 months.
Okay.
So I back up from your election date of
Mhm.
April, that takes us back into October of this year-ish, roughly 180.
Okay.
Roughly 180 days. And
I didn't know if they were different than the other
they're
states.
not, but like I said, we should settle this in the next 3 months, so we're not close to that 180-day no-go zone, where we can't take any action to change compensation, it's 180 days prior to the turnover of the board.
Thank you, Mr. Attorney, and thank you, Kelly, for getting us
And
what
I would
other
suggest-
agencies are doing. I'm sorry?
I would suggest we would amend our IGA. You have a third amended IGA between the two communities. You'd amend your IGA. We have that little ordinance that kind of governs all, ordinance of schedule and policy and everything. I would tweak that as well, 2 little tweaks there with whatever stipend you choose. And you might on your own end, because this is affecting mayors that sit on this board, you might want to, look at, do you have to do anything on your end, both in your village codes, in terms of how your president is compensated, because the presidents are really the ones that are at issue here. And just like presidents do receive, in some communities, extra money to be the liquor commissioner, there's certain statutory additional compensation that may be set forth in your code. You might want to tweak your village codes to reflect the compensation in your capacity as the co-chair of this water agency. Just also a thought for your village attorneys to look at.
Thank you for that. Most certainly we'll be doing that on our end. We'll just wait to see what other agencies are doing and how they're compensated, and then just continue the conversation. So I would like to keep this on the agenda so that it's
There's a rollover.
yeah, just keep it on the roll.
as directed.
Yep. All right, thanks. Next is old business. The status report of the expansion of the water reservoir capacity at 10th Avenue Station.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Morning.
At the last meeting, I gave an oral presentation of some numbers, and the board asked for a memo, so I did provide that memo with the information that I kind of that I had talked about at the board meeting, about increasing the reservoir size to 1.5 million gallons. Would be the recommendation if the agency wishes to go that way to increase the size. I believe the 2 million would cause some other problems out on the site that would be a little more problematic, and the incremental cost, because if you go from 1 million to 1.5 million, it's pretty much just going higher. Whereas if you're gonna go to 2 million, now you're going out, you got all that extra excavation and impact to the surrounding sites. So if the board wishes that, we can work with Sea Orbit Group and see if there's enough, I don't know how much money is left in the budget from the original design, if there's a change order that needs to be done to change the design from 1 million to 1.5 million, and bring that to the board.
So the question that I have with that, because the greatest impact is within a residential area in the village of Broadview.
Correct.
So what I would like to see happen is that we have another meeting with the residents so that they can give some input on what this is gonna actually be for them, because it's within a residential area. If it was in a commercial or industrial,
Yes,
it would
understand.
be an easy, breezy type of decision, but because it impact people that live in this community, we have to have that consideration for input, so that it just don't come as we made a decision and we didn't get an input from them.
Because
So
we did an original one with one size, so. yes.
Right.
Okay.
So I would like to see if we could get the new renderings and then do another community meeting as it relates. And Westchester is more than welcome to attend and participate, because it impacts them as well.
Thank you.
Okay.
All right, so we will work on that.
Okay.
Okay.
Any questions or comments for?
Okay,
No, thank you.
thank you.
Okay. Next on the agenda is consideration and approval of the finance report for March 28th and the check detail period from February 29th to March 28th in the amount of $520,657.05. The agency check numbers is 17341 through 17361. I need a motion and a second.
Motion?
Second.
Manager Barry, you have any questions or comments?
Not today.
Trustee Mazzano?
I do not.
Mayor Rebo?
No.
Ms. Jones? Mr. Scalise?
No, ma'am.
Celeste, can we get a roll call, please?
Mayor Thompson?
Yes.
Mayor Rebo?
Yes.
Mr. Scalise?
Yes.
Mr. Marzano?
Yes.
Ms. Jones?
Yes.
Mr. Comstock?
Yes.
Thank you. Next is the consideration and approval resolution number 2024-01, a resolution approving amendments to the employee handbook of the Broadview Westchester Joint Water Agency regarding to the paid leave for all workers act and the Cook County paid leave ordinance. So we had instructed Manager Barry and Ms. Jones to kind of give some feedback, and I think the outcome, so I don't know if Mayor Barry want to go through it or Ms. Jones want to go through it, but can you guys give us some updates on what we're approving today?
So I would just make a comment real quickly. So at the last board meeting, we had our proposal, obviously, from the attorney to put us into compliance, and there were proposals that were actually made, options. And my recommendation, obviously, just looking at what was provided by the attorney, is to go with option one. I believe that's the most fair and also consistency that we would have. And my accrual payroll is the best that we do, and I think it's the most universal. It'll be a little easier for Wesley, but right now, it's putting in something that we really don't have a lot of part-timers, but we would have this in place for anybody who's going to ever ask, did you follow the law? The only other comment that I would say is, I tried making a little graphic, just the difference, but my recommendation is for option one. And Celeste, did you get a copy of this, or do I need to?
Yes, I provided.
Just making sure that that's how I say, and I think that we believe that would be the best for us at this point in time.
Okay, thank you, Manager. Administrator Jones, you have any questions? Any comments regarding that?
Just that I agree as well with Manager Barry, that we should go with option one. That's most feasible.
Okay. Trustee Marzano, you have any questions or comments?
No, I don't.
Thank you. Mayor Rebo?
No, I do not.
No, I do not.
I don't either, so, all in favor, say aye.
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 Did you get a motion and a second? I didn't hear it.
Yep, we did.
Yes.
Oh, who made the motion?
I'm sorry? I didn't hear a motion.
I think I did.
I'll make it
I thought
Peter did.
somebody made
I
the-
think I did. It was a
I
long
think
time
Peter
ago.
did.
you know.
So I'll make a motion again.
Age. I did.
Okay.
So who motion?
I don't know who made it, but
I believe I did.
okay.
Yes.
Second?
Who sec, I don't know who made it, but I did hear it because I asked for that in the
I
beginning.
must have blacked out, I'm
So-
sorry.
We'll go first, second.
Okay,
Okay.
thank you. Next is the superintendent's report.
Good morning. I did just have one highlight. For the month of March, we completed 23 Julie locates along with daily maintenance, and the station pumped 127,727,000 gallons of water. And I'm currently still working with the accountant on getting the budget together and working with Mr. Gumas as far as the reservoir for the 10th Avenue pump station.
Okay.
Yeah.
Any questions for the superintendent?
Not on that per se, but now that we actually have a letter from him from Chicago, is there a way that, maybe this is more of a Kelly question, could you just do an analysis for the city of Chicago rate, our rate over the time, just a little history on that? I think that might also be good for the budget, for people to understand how we've been able to stabilize
Mhm.
overall. But that's more of, I know, we're losing 3.5 million gallons out the door.
Thank you, trustee Marzano.
No, thank you.
Mayor Rebo?
No, nothing.
Ms. Jones?
Nothing.
Mr. Scalise?
No.
Thank you, Mr. Superintendent. So we do have a closed session, and this is for the purposes of personnel matters. Item F, the appointment, employment, compensation, discipline, performance, or dismissal of specific employees of the public body per 5 ILCS 120/2C1. So I'll call for us to adjourn to go into closed session.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
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 Gotta do a roll
Thank you.
call.
Ms. Celeste?
Sure. Mayor Rebo?
Yes.
Mayor Thompson?
Yes.
Mr. Scalise?
Yes.
Mr. Marzano?
Yes.
Ms. Jones?
Yes.
Mr. Comstock?
Yes.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Have a good week.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Happy Easter, everybody.
Happy Easter.
Uh-huh.
Another reason to
Well,
eat,
now that we're
overeat,
custodians
so.
in-house, I let them
You're right.